Now, I'm thinking of a specific body part, okay? It's soft, it's warm, it's moist. Sometimes it's squishy, sometimes it's hard. Men have these, but women often have bigger ones. That's right, I'm talking about the brain. And who better to talk about the brain than brain expert himself, most famous doctor in the world, Dr. Amen. Come on out, Dr. Daniel Amen. If you could just go ahead and dance a little bit. Just dance a little bit more. We're doing it like Ellen DeGeneres. Just keep the energy up. Keep going. Keep going. Thank you so much, Dr. Amen. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. God, what a pleasure. It's such an honor to meet you. You're very famous.
I'm so excited to talk about the brain.
You seem it. How's his mic placement?
Let's get him a little closer.
Okay. Just, your ass is in my face. Oh, my God. Dr. Amen, I've scoured the internet for the top burning questions that people have for you. So let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we?
All right.
What the hell is a single photon emission computed tomography scan?
So SPECT is the study we do at Amen Clinics. We have about 250,000 of them on people from 155 countries. It's a nuclear medicine study that looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how your brain works. And it basically shows us three things.
Okay.
Good activity, too little, or too much. And then our job, once we see it, is to balance it.
That's very interesting. Now, I feel, and I'm trying to say this from a humble place, that I do have a perfect brain. Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Well, because I've seen it.
No, no, that's not. He's not. I do think I have a perfect brain, but I feel like there's people out there that don't, and they could learn a lot from this. So now, I want to know, you use these famous SPECT scans to view brain activity, but some folks say it's like using a crystal ball to read minds, which I think is very effective, actually. How do you respond to the hating ass bitches?
Well, that's ridiculous, right? When I look at a scan,
Haters.
I'm looking at your brain or
Right.
whoever's brain. And psychiatry, the one crazy thing about most psychiatrists is they never look at the organ they treat.
That's like going to a gynecologist and they're not looking at my beaver.
You have to look. If you don't
You
look,
gotta
how
look.
do you know whether it works too hard or not hard enough, whether it's toxic? So I've done a lot of work with addiction, and often
Yikes.
it motivates people to stop because they can see their brain. Actually, a brand new study out today, published in JAMA, on over 1,000 marijuana users.
Really?
That significant decreases in the memory centers in their brain. And so everybody thinks marijuana is innocuous, but when you actually look at the brains of people who are using marijuana or excessive alcohol or other drugs, it's not healthy. And if you believe your brain controls everything you do, how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you get along with other people,
Right.
when your brain works right, you work right. So why would you ever do anything to damage it?
Because people hate themselves.
Well, they often do because their brain's not healthy. So your
So
brain
it's like a
is
catch-22.
also the organ of self-love
Okay. So you're
or
saying,
self-loathing.
right. So you're saying don't smoke weed. You hear that, Clayton?
I heard. Yeah. I'll stop.
Because when you drove through in your 2004 Toyota Camry, I could just smell the cannabis seeping into my...
Last time you heard it here, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Can you tell him to stop? Because it's actually messing up with the production of this shoot.
Yeah. If you love your brain, I mean, brain health is really three things. It's brain envy. You got to care about it. I always say Freud was wrong. Penis envy is not the cause of anybody's problem.
Well, and I'm good there, so we don't.
Got to
Really,
love
know
your
about that.
brain and then avoid things that hurt it. Just got to know the list. Marijuana is one of them. And do things that help it.
What about CBD?
Helpful for seizures, can be helpful for social anxiety, but it's just barely legal. And so there's not good long-term studies on it yet.
Okay. Now, you say that you're all about brain-gut connection. Are you telling me my depression stems from my colon?
Sometimes. Or from your intestines, there's this thing called the microbiome in your gut.
Okay.
I told this to my daughter when she was 8. She got so grossed out.
Really?
But in your gut, you have 100 trillion bugs, 100 trillion bacteria, viruses, fungi, 100 trillion. You have 10 times the number of bugs in your gut than you have cells in your whole body.
That's fucking
And
disgusting.
they create neurotransmitters.
The bugs do.
The bugs do. They digest your food.
The bugs do.
The bugs do. They detoxify your body.
The bugs
and if
do.
the bugs aren't healthy, so think of them as your defense force.
Okay.
And if they're not healthy, you're not happy. And
I see.
so kids, for example, had a lot of ear infections, got a lot of antibiotics. And what do antibiotics kill?
The good bacteria,
Gut bugs.
gut bugs,
And what do pesticides kill? Bugs.
gut bugs.
And they kill gut bugs. So the reason to eat organic is not because the foods are more nutritious, it's they're without poison. So
So
you
would,
want to
would
think.
Taco Bell kill gut bugs?
So Taco Bell would kill gut bugs because none of it's organic. And the issue of pesticides is really important because you don't want to do anything to damage your microbiome, because if your gut's not right, your brain's not right.
So then what is the solution?
To eat healthier,
Organic.
to only take antibiotics when absolutely necessary.
And when you do, what do? Take probiotics?
And then take
be a
probiotics to
doctor.
repopulate your gut bugs. I mean, like I said, love your brain envy. You want to have microbiome envy. You want to love yourself, and
Right.
taking care of your gut is one way. And I just published a huge study on adverse childhood experiences. So
Okay.
on a scale of 0 to 10, how many bad things happened to you when you're growing up? And chronic stress, early chronic stress. So, for example, you grew up in an alcoholic home and
Right.
your mom or dad were unpredictable.
Who didn't grow up in an alcoholic home?
A lot of people,
Come on.
90%.
No,
of
that's
people.
not true.
But
Everybody had a drunk dad, right?
but there are 30 million.
You didn't have a drunk dad?
No, 30 million children of alcoholics in the United States. So that's 10%, but that's a lot of people.
These are people that admit to it.
But that chronic stress damages the microbiome, which then can make you
How do you explain
anxious.
that I have a perfect brain if I grew up with alcoholic parents and chaos then?
Well, maybe that's how you've become so wonderful.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
Or was I? Chronic stress, early chronic stress changes your microbiome. And if you don't do anything to fix it over time, your whole life you can be anxious because of that.
Okay, I see. But there's ways to fix it. And that's why you're here.
There are ways to fix it.
There's ways to fix it. Okay. So I want to get into those ways in a little bit. I want to know, why does every single person on the planet have ADHD? And do you think the number of cases has risen post TikTok.
Yes. Not everybody has it, but a whole bunch of people have it.
I feel like everybody I know has
And,
ADHD.
well, we become like the people we spend time with.
So you're saying I attract people who have ADHD?
Yeah, me too.
You have ADHD?
I don't.
Do you have ADHD?
Oh yeah.
Do you have ADHD, Patrick? He does.
My first wife had it.
ADHD.
Tana has it. So
Of course she does.
I know more about it than I want to.
But tell me, what's the rise? Why does everybody have it?
So it's a real thing. It was described over 100 years ago, and it's a real medical condition. But our
And you
society,
can get diagnosed on TikTok, correct?
no.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure you can, but it's not a good idea.
Okay. So 100
It's a
years ago.
good-
Okay.
100 years ago, people talked about something called minimal brain damage. So that was the first thing they saw because they didn't see any damage on the brain when they did autopsies. And it's got really 5 hallmarks:
Okay.
short attention span, ADHD, but not for everything.
But look at that.
It's short attention span for regular, routine, everyday things: schoolwork, homework, paperwork, chores.
Okay.
For things that are new, novel, highly stimulating, interesting, or frightening, people with ADD can pay attention just fine. They're easily distracted because they see too much, they hear too much.
You stop. You're making noises.
Sorry.
I just did a post recently on women with ADHD
Really?
and how they need white noise at night in order to sleep.
You're kidding
Because otherwise they hear everything.
me. Little noise. That's
in
funny
the
because I
family.
sleep with white noise, but I don't have ADHD, so that's funny.
Having an orgasm is hard because what does an orgasm require? Focus. You have to pay attention to the feeling long enough and not get distracted. And when they get their ADD treated, their love lives are better.
Really?
And it's often better because, the third thing is they tend to be disorganized, they tend to procrastinate, and impulse control. Their inside voice gets out too much.
People with ADHD, their inside voice gets out. They say things they don't mean.
They just say the first thing they think rather than actually evaluating, do I actually
Want to
believe
say that
this?
out loud? I've got a
Does
wedgie.
this-
I've got a wedgie right now. I want to pick my butt so bad, but I know I'm on an interview, but it's just riding up my ass right now. And I've been thinking about it, and I shouldn't have said it out loud.
Yes, that would be impulsivity.
You do have a couple of the things he's listing. I'm not.
Clayton, literally shut the entire all the way fuck up. Give me just a second. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. ADHD.
There was a fourth and a fifth.
Okay. Right. 4th and 5th.
So the fourth, procrastination, is they tend not to do things until someone's mad at them to get it done. And so it causes a fair amount of stress in the families.
Wow.
And
I don't identify.
I beg to differ, but
I swear to fucking God.
they can also be conflict seeking because their brains are sleepy, especially in the front.
Right.
And so they tend to poke at other people
Whoa.
to sort of get a rise out of them because that's sort of like 10 milligrams of Ritalin.
You're
It's like,
kidding me.
whoa.
Is this why I roast Clayton on a daily basis, telling him he looks like fucking Mr. Rogers when he walked in here? Is that ADHD?
Could be. If your goal is to torture him,
Which it is.
then
and she does all 5. Plus, she's never had an orgasm.
Okay. Keep going. That's
so
not
along
true.
with the conflict.
That's not true. I have many orgasms. I've had many orgasms. Solo, with a partner, with 2 partners.
Easy or hard?
Incredibly easy. I could do one right now without even touching. Seriously, with the power of my mind. Why are we laughing?
You just make me laugh.
Okay. You're big on changing how we view mental health. But let's be real. If someone tells me that they're going to see a psychiatrist, my first thought is, I don't want that nutcase near me.
Yeah. When I decided to be a psychiatrist, 1979, I told my dad, and he asked me why I didn't want to be a real doctor, why I wanted to be a nut doctor and hang out with nuts all day long.
He's
So
got a
a
good point.
lot of people have that thought. But, after I've looked at all these scans,
Yeah.
it became really clear to me that most psychiatric illnesses are not mental health issues, they're brain health issues. Get your brain healthy and your mind will follow.
Mm.
When you call someone mental, you shame them. When you call them a brain, you elevate them. Nobody really wants to see a psychiatrist because of the shame and stigma. No one wants to be labeled as defective or abnormal, but everybody wants a better brain. So what if mental health was really brain health?
Do you think that everybody should see a psychiatrist?
No. But I think everybody should look at their brain at
Okay.
some point.
Right. So if you're like me, you don't need to see one. If you're like Clayton, get in there, inpatient.
I see one, so
You would benefit.
Why are you laughing out there? we say. Sorry, I messed up there. Shit. We all say we want to say, motherfucker. Take that again.
Tourette's?
Excuse me.
Tourette's.
You think I have Tourette's?
I was just thought that, yes.
Well,
that was a symptom.
Clayton, enough. He needs to get his fucking brain scanned.
Do you want to
What?
back to the question?
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Okay. We all say we want to stay as sharp as a tack, but some days I can't even find my keys when I'm holding them. What's your top advice for keeping our brains young and sexy?
So again, it's those three things, but it's knowing more about them. So brain envy, got to care, avoid things that hurt it, know the list. We talked about marijuana,
Yeah.
alcohol, not sleeping.
I sleep
bad food.
3 hours a night. I thought I was a genius.
Yeah, I used to be able to survive on 4 hours a night. And then I realized I wasn't special. I was stupid. Because when you sleep, your brain cleans and washes itself. And it needs about 7 hours to get it clean.
Okay.
And so 3 hours over time, a lot of trash sort of builds up and it becomes harder to think and harder to act in ways that are in your best interest.
I see.
So sleep is critical.
For most people.
And the lack of sleep, because kids are taking gadgets to bed at night,
They're
is
taking
increasing.
gadgets. I thought that was a new type of drug.
No,
Like
their devices.
iPads.
Yeah, they're taking their phones and iPads
To sleep with them?
to sleep, which then makes them look like they have ADD when what they really have is sleep deprivation.
Shitty parents. Shame on you. Shame on you. I would never let my kid have an iPad. Now, what happens to your brain when you fall in love?
It's a part of your brain that responds to dopamine. It's called the nucleus accumbens. It lights up just like you have OCD. It's so interesting. And love, new love,
Yeah.
is a drug. and it works on the same part of your brain cocaine works on.
Really?
And you're like, whoa. And then you get obsessed, and that's all you can think
Think
about.
about, and you're calling
then
them
you're-
20 times a night and like following them to
and you
your house.
completely turn off like the judgment
Yes.
part of your
Yes.
brain. And
Oh my God.
it's like, oh, I just love this person so much. They're just perfect for me. Yes, they don't have their kids, but that doesn't matter.
You stop going to work. You just focus on them.
Yeah, that's why you really shouldn't get married for 6 months or a year.
You don't think 6 months to a year, you don't think that's too early?
Well, my mom met my dad, and they got engaged 2 months later and married 5 months after they met. And they were married
Wow.
for 70 years.
Well, I once went to a psychiatrist and he diagnosed me with bipolar, borderline, OCD, dissociative identity disorder, ADHD, anxiety, autism, body dysmorphia, and Kluver-Bucy syndrome, all in my first session. That's got to be some sort of record.
It's close.
Can you talk about Kluver-Bucy syndrome?
So it's damage to your
Bussy?
amygdala on both sides. So there's an area in your brain called the amygdala. It's named after an almond, of all things, because it's shaped like an almond. And it's very important. It's the part of us that sort of warns us that trouble is afoot. And when you damage it, people get oral. They want to mouth things. And they can have rage attacks.
The
So,
Kluver-Bucy people.
I think
the
I
people
have
who
that.
have this syndrome.
I think I have that too.
I think he does as well.
And
a
so,
lot of
so
oral
one, how
fixation.
would you know if you didn't look?
How would you know
Right.
it?
I mean, you should like scan people. And if you see
Right.
damage on both sides of your temporal lobes where the amygdala is, then you go, oh, maybe that's a possibility. But the question with all the diagnoses is if you get your brain healthy, you tend to be less borderline. You tend to have more stable moods.
Okay.
Your focus is better.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a huge fan of all the labels. Let me just label you as broken
Sure.
because you're awesome.
Thank you.
The goal is just to help you be more awesome.
I love that. Can you say that again? Just
You're awesome.
add like just a
And the-
few more compliments with it.
You're awesome in so many ways,
Thank
but the
you.
goal is to help
Like
you
which
be
ways? Just
more awesome. Besides being smart and funny and beautiful and
thank you.
caring and loving.
Modest.
She is modest.
Thank you.
You are modest.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, do you think that kind of diagnosing without actually looking at the brain, do you think that that's irresponsible?
I think it's insane.
Mm. Do you think being this good looking is insane?
No.
You've done over 200,000 brain scans. That's a lot. Some would say obsessive. Have you checked your own brain?
I have.
Autistic?
Not autistic. Bit
OCD?
obsessive.
OCD?
A bit obsessive. I've been
You got OCD?
thinking about the brain since 1991. like
Special
every
interest,
day.
some would say.
Yes.
So what's up with your brain?
And I collect them.
Okay, see, that's fucked up. You've got a disorder. What's that one? Psychopath?
No.
You collect brains?
Yeah.
Where do you keep 'em? In your basement?
Scans on my
Oh,
computer.
fuck. I fucking shit. I thought he meant brains. I thought he literally.
I thought he had a whole jar, a room of jars.
I thought you were collecting brains in your fucking basement.
No. Scans.
Got it. Just give me 1 second. I'm so sorry.
I have a question. Where does, if you have OCD, where does it show up as brain? What would you see?
So when you have OCD, your frontal tend to work too hard. So they're busy. Then there's another area called the basal ganglia that are busy, especially on the right side. And funny area, funny name, anterior, just means toward the front, singular gyrus. And when that is too active, think of it as the brain's gear shifter. It lets you go from thought to thought, move from idea to idea, be flexible, go with the flow. When it's too busy, you get stuck and you get the same thoughts looping over and over again. It's sort of like an old vinyl record that has a scratch in it.
Have you ever scanned a brain and thought, wow, that's one busted ass, ugly ass, nasty ass brain?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Many of them, actually, from substance abusers. Early in my career as the director of a substance abuse treatment program, and their brains just look terrible because they're poisoning
Right.
themselves.
That makes sense.
I did the big NFL study when the NFL was sort of blind. It had a problem with traumatic brain injury in football.
Right.
Terrible brains.
Really?
As a group.
Disgusting.
Terrible.
Repulsive. You ever
Well,
looked at a
I've-
brain and went, damn, I'd hit that brain. That's hot.
You mean the other way? Where I saw a beautiful brain and went, whoa.
Yeah, like have you ever looked at a brain and been like, damn, that's one sexy ass, thick ass brain?
Yeah. I was on CNN once. They did a show on my work. And the anchor, beautiful. And her brain was stunning.
Really?
And that's very sexy to me.
It turned you on a little bit.
I mean, because ultimately it's what
Like
you want.
there's like guys are, ass men. That's an ass man. Titty man.
Brains over beauty.
Brain man.
I'm a brain man.
That's funny.
So when I met my wife, really liked her, still do. And I'm like,
That's rare.
the first naked part of her I wanted to see was her brain.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the first date?
It was not the first date, but within 3
You
weeks, I
waited.
saw her
You
brain.
waited 3 weeks.
I did.
And then what? You saw her brain and what?
I'm like, I think I'm going to keep her. Now, it took her about 18 months to figure out she was going to keep me, but I had her and her brain. I was sold.
What's the secret to a lasting relationship? It seems like you guys have a very healthy, functioning, passionate, fun relationship. How the hell did you do that?
We do.
Why,
Well,
and
the
why does
secret-
nobody else do it? Why does everyone else's relationship suck? Why is there so much divorce? Why are most people that are together can't stand each other?
Well, I'm not sure that's true, but a lot of people do that. And part of it is if their brains aren't healthy.
So that's it. It's the unhealthy brain. That's what's causing the 52% divorce rate is an
It's part
unhealthy
of it.
brain.
I always think of people in 4 big circles.
Okay.
There's a biology, so we're looking at the brain.
Yeah.
There's also a psychology, how you think. And I coined a term a long time ago called ANTS, automatic negative thoughts.
Thoughts. I love
Thoughts
that.
that come into your mind automatically and mess you up.
Love it.
And we live in a society of undisciplined thinkers. And so if your brain's not healthy, you invaded with ants socially, right? With social media, everybody thinks, oh, everybody else has a better relationship than I do, right? So it's making it harder. And spiritually, is most people have no idea why they're on the planet.
They're godless.
And if you really want to be healthy, it's healthy
Jesus
brain,
Christ.
healthy brain, healthy thoughts, purpose.
Healthy brain, healthy thoughts, purpose.
Meditation. Is that good for the brain?
Meditation is great for the brain. It helps activate your frontal lobes, makes you more human, more thoughtful, and calms down your emotional brain.
Now,
You should try that.
you should shut the actual fuck up. Because nobody was talking to you. Now, they say that those who have God in their lives, spiritual beings, are happier. That there's a real correlation there between believing in a higher power and being happier. Tell me about that.
Well, it's true. In fact, if you have deep-rooted spiritual beliefs and you get depressed, you get better faster. And
Any specific religion that gets you there fastest?
no,
Because I'll convert.
too often. And the incidence, as the incidence of mental illness has gone up, the incidence of people going to church has actually gone down. So I think there's a connection because and we've been sold, right? We're a godless, science-based society. It's
Right.
evolution. But if you believe all of this happened by random chance, that
Mm.
I'm here today just because of some explosion billions of years ago, and it's random, and there's no purpose to the universe, that's depressing.
Yeah.
But if you believe there's creative design and I was made for a purpose to make a positive impact on other people, there's hope
Yeah,
in
you're less
that.
likely to off yourself.
So, and suicide has skyrocketed. Do you see this study came out last year? 57% of teenage girls report being persistently sad. 32% have thought of killing themselves. 24% have planned to kill themselves, and 13% have tried. These are statistics
It's
I've
horrific.
never seen.
I gotta say, I think, and I'm no doctor, believe it or not, but I gotta say, I think it's the effects of social media. These young girls watching these videos, scrolling, seeing these lives of these girls who are prettier or wealthier or whatever, have the cute boyfriend, and they compare and despair. And then that's it. By the way, follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. It's at Pamela Pupkin. But it's horrible.
Yeah, they actually just recently banned it in Australia. If you're under
banned-
16,
That's smart.
you're
That's smart.
not allowed to have social media.
I don't think
any of your
kids should
devices.
have phones until they're 18.
Right.
Maybe flip phones, but no access to the internet.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Maybe
you.
President Trump can bring that back to Australia too.
We just have to be thoughtful because the incidence of mental health problems is just out of control.
That's depressing. Have you ever? No. I've noticed my memory hasn't been great lately. Do you think that's because there's something wrong with my brain or because I'm too busy being fabulous?
Well, it could be both. And when you said you only got 3 hours of sleep at night, I'm like, that could totally be it.
I see.
So if you want a better
okay.
memory tomorrow,
Yeah.
go to bed earlier
Okay.
tonight.
Now, let me ask you this. My memory's not been great. Do you think that maybe there's something wrong with my brain?
Well, if we're right that you have ADD, that often goes with short-term memory problems because you weren't paying attention to where the keys were, even though they were in your hand.
Wow. Okay, next question. I've been struggling with my memory lately. My memory's not great. Do you think that there's something maybe wrong with my brain?
Maybe.
You've asked that question 3 times.
Clayton, nobody asked you.
Sorry.
Like, stay in your lane. You're not the star here. I know you want to be, but you're not. It's probably due to that vest. Dr. Eamon, I want to talk about memory. I've been struggling with mine. What do you think that means about my brain?
We should look at it.
You say that there's a link between diet and your brain. Tell me about that.
So your brain
Okay.
uses 20 to 30% of the calories you consume.
Wow.
And so if you have a fast food diet, you're most likely to have a fast food mind.
A fat brain.
No, a skinny brain.
Oh.
So you don't want to be fat. That's one of the risk factors for memory problems.
You don't want to be fat, did you
But you
say?
want a fat brain. I published 3 studies on 33,000 people
Fat people?
showing as your weight goes up, the actual physical size and function of your brain goes down, which should scare the fat off anyone. And then people pick on me. It's like, oh, you're fat shaming. I'm like, no, I'm telling you,
Right.
being overweight
Right.
is bad for your brain. If you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind.
Okay.
If you're overweight, you now have 10 of them
Oh my God.
because being overweight lowers blood flow to your brain. It prematurely ages your brain. It changes your genetics in a bad way. Your body's fat stores toxins. You're more vulnerable to having hormone issues. This is not a good thing. And now 74% of Americans are overweight, 42% of people are obese. This is the biggest brain drain in the history of the United States. And now it's a national security crisis because 70% of young people are not eligible for military service.
Oh my God, because they're too fat.
There's just like nothing okay about the health of America right now.
That makes me feel better because when you call me a fat fuck, you're
Yeah.
actually talking about my brain.
That's right. Yeah. That makes so much sense. It's why he's so insufferable. It's
Yeah.
the fat.
If somebody calls you a fathead, say thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. So then, okay, what's the absolute worst thing I can eat besides Clayton's vegan mac and cheese?
Sugar-laden cereals created with artificial dyes, sweeteners, and pesticides.
I can't eat pesticides.
So
there goes my
probably
dinner.
Fruit Loops.
Really? And they're marketed towards children.
Absolutely. And they're on the bottom 2 shelves in the grocery store, which are the most expensive shelves because the kids go by and they go, oh, I want this. And rather than go, no, I don't spend money
And
on
then there's a
things that would hurt
meltdown.
you, then there's a meltdown and then you feel embarrassed and then you buy it.
Because you can't take control of your kid. And so you just buy it and you poison your kid effectively.
Right.
Wow. So what would you do if your child wanted the Fruit Loops in the grocery store? There's a hot ass girl on aisle 6. She's looking at you. She wants you. You're not married. She's eyeing you up and down. She's liking what she's seeing. You've got a child. He wants the Fruit Loops. What are you going to do?
No.
Come on, doctor.
And I will have told him ahead of time or her, if you have a tantrum to get your way, the answer is no. It's always going to be no.
I like that.
Go for it.
Oh, wow. Go for it.
Go for it.
And then what? He goes for it.
And then
You
it's
kick him?
like,
What do you do?
no. I'd kick him. I'm like,
I wouldn't do.
You could put him on your shoulders so he's not looking.
Nobody asked you, Clayton. Nobody's fucking talking to you.
I have a new puppy and I love her so much. And the first 2 nights, she was like screaming in her kennel. And I'm like, no, you never, if you have a tantrum to get your way, the answer is no. And now if she barks, I'll like look at her and she's like, I'm fine.
But so wait, kid has a tantrum though. You're not gonna give in, which is smart because once you do once, I heard you say that they then
You're
never believe
training
you.
them to have tantrums.
Which whoops. So what do you do? What do you do? So they have the tantrum.
Just
Then
don't
what?
get upset. You're like,
You just let
the
it
answer
pass.
is no.
Let it pass. But then Hottie with a body's walking away. She doesn't want any part of that. What are you gonna do? Pass up the poontang?
Yeah, because the baby's going to be there for a long time. The hottie might just be there for a minute.
All right.
So
Respect,
short-term pain or
respect.
long-term pain. Short-term
Wow.
pain
Short term.
is give in to the tantrum so you can like get it over with in the store. But that creates long-term pain because you're going to have to deal with that behavior over and over and over.
That's really smart. I like that. Okay. Now,
I'd pick the minute.
is poor impulse. Shit. I messed it up. Sorry. Do you mind if I take that again? Is poor impulse control an indicator of brain damage?
Could be. Could also mean you didn't sleep.
Mm.
So if your willpower is low, why? It could be the time of your cycle that changes your brain. I've actually scanned
Okay.
women, the worst time of their cycle, the best time
Wow.
of their cycle. It's like they have multiple personalities.
Oh, that's wild. Because I'm PMSing right now, and I bought 16 gallons of kombucha this morning because it was on sale.
So time of your cycle could also be if you're filled with ants, automatic negative thoughts. If you didn't sleep well the night before, if you
Okay.
have ADD,
Okay.
you always want to go, well, why? And it could be because you were in a car accident. And if you go, hey, Daniel, what's the single most important thing you've learned from 250,000 scans? Mild traumatic brain injury ruins people's lives, and nobody knows about it. Sometimes the fall down the stairs that happened when you were 3 can change the trajectory of somebody's life.
Clayton.
It's making a lot of sense.
His mom dropped him many times on purpose.
She said she didn't like me very much.
What are some things you can do that are good for your brain?
Go to bed early,
Mm.
exercise.
Wait,
like,
exercise is good for your brain?
really good for your brain, especially like sitting on that ball.
Yeah. Let's
You
talk
have
about
to
that.
activate
Mm.
a part of your brain called the cerebellum, which is in the back bottom part
Okay.
of the brain. And that little exercise that you're doing is activating your cerebellum, which is then turning on the rest of your brain. And so kids who do coordination exercises like dance, tennis, table tennis, actually have the best brains.
Whoa.
And
The
so
racket sports.
racket sports, people who play racket sports
Pickleball?
live longer than everybody else, like pickleball,
Ping pong.
table tennis, yes,
Table tennis. What's your favorite?
table tennis.
Table tennis?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's the best brain game.
What's the difference
Like
between
ping pong. It's the same
Is
thing
it? Oh, it's like ping pong.
Yeah.
Why don't you just say ping pong?
because it has 2 names.
It has both.
Yeah.
But why not
So
ping
it's an
pong? Why
Olympic
not ping
sport.
pong?
I actually went to the table tennis Olympics this year in
Ping pong?
Paris. Yeah.
You went to the ping pong Olympics.
I
There's
did.
an Olympics for ping pong?
Ping pong is in the Olympics.
Are you good at ping pong?
I am
How good are you at ping pong?
really good.
Would you want to play ping pong with me?
I'd love to.
And if you lose, I'm going to make you pay me a lot of money.
Okay.
Okay. Is that a deal? $20,000 if you lose.
I'm not going to lose.
If I lose, what?
I have no idea. You have to have me back.
Sounds good. So you're going to lose. When you talk about exercise being good for the brain, are we talking about a brisk walk or are we talking about benching a Tesla?
So
Speaking of Tesla, what the fuck is wrong with Elon's brain?
that would be an interesting brain.
Right?
Yeah.
Roman salute.
Guys have fantasy women. I have fantasy brains. So I married my fantasy woman. So I would love to have his brain. Like I have Mike Tyson's
You'd love to
brain.
have Elon Musk's brain?
Scan.
Scanned.
20 minute a jar. 20 minute a jar.
No.
Yeah, man.
He needs his brain in his skull working.
You wanted him dead. Okay.
It's a really important question. So, what's the right exercise? And what we know is the stronger you are as you age, the less likely you are to get Alzheimer's disease. So, even for
Okay.
women, lifting weights is a good idea.
Okay.
But we talked about the 11 major risk factors. The first one's blood flow. Low blood flow is the number one brain imaging predictor of Alzheimer's disease. So you need to do cardiovascular exercise, which is walk like you're late, run,
Walk like you're
doable.
late. Okay.
45 minutes, 4 times a week. It's been shown to be equally effective to antidepressants. So your mood is better because your brain is better.
I believe that because I've wanted to straight up murder people. And then I go to the gym and I'm fine. I don't carry out the murder. Now, I want to know with Alzheimer's, because I'm nervous about that. It runs in my family. And so they say sometimes it starts in your brain at like in your 30s. So if I'm working out and could I, even if it's in me, could I stop it? Or am I
Yes.
fucked?
No, actually, new research. In 2004, I wrote a book called Preventing Alzheimer's and got all sorts of grief from my colleagues. It's like, no, you can't do that. Brand new study out in the Lancet that said 50% of Alzheimer's disease is preventable. And it's like those 11 risk factors. So we talked about blood flow and diabetes, being overweight. You don't want them.
Diabetes. Did you just make that word up?
No, I stole it from my friend Mark Hyman,
Okay.
but I like it. Diabetes is one of the risk factors. It's where you're overweight and or you have high blood sugar.
Okay. It's like diabetes.
And so what you eat really matters because you can change type 2 diabetes with your diet. And that's the first thing to do, which is basically kill sugar and foods that quickly turn to sugar, like bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, fruit juice.
So you can reverse it.
You can reverse it. And so if
Okay.
you
Great.
have been bad to your brain,
Okay.
you can make it better.
Well, that brings me to my next little segment. I say we play a little game. I'm going to name some things and you tell me if they're good or bad for my brain. These are not things I do. These are general.
It's actually a little game I play with my daughter
Oh, fun.
called Is This Good for Your Brain or Bad for It? And so we called it Chloe's game.
Oh,
But this is
great.
like the most important thing you can do with your kids.
Oh, fun. Is play the game.
So let's play the game.
Okay, let's play the game. Okay, ready? Diet soda.
Bad for your brain. New study out on aspartame. It made mice anxious and it made their babies and grandbabies anxious. So if we're looking at the mental health crisis, aspartame, NutraSweets, but in Diet Coke, is in 5,000 products in the United States. Could that be part of the mental health epidemic?
The anxiety epidemic.
Praise God, we're not mice.
Kill the Diet Coke.
Taking 6 melatonin gummies a night.
Not bad for the brain.
Great. Meditating in the nude.
Good for your brain. Unless you're doing it on a public street.
Damn it.
Because prison is bad for your brain.
Got it. Eating a family-sized bag of hot Cheetos at midnight.
Bad for your brain. It's a weapon of mass destruction.
It's a little dramatic, don't you think?
No.
Dr. Raymond?
Absolutely
It's a little
not.
much. They're Cheetos, not crack.
Yeah. It's a weapon of mass destruction.
Okay. You're acting like they're bombs. Starting your day with organic green juice made with kale, celery, and vodka.
Bad for your brain.
Organic, though.
Organic vodka?
Yes.
Bad for your brain.
Doing yoga while crying hysterically.
Sort of neutral.
Masturbating to ASMR videos on YouTube of people eating pickles.
That's got to be good.
What is ASMR?
What does that stand for? ASMR? What does it stand for, Clayton?
Autonomous sensory meridian response. It's when they whisper.
It's when they whisper into the microphone like that, and you can hear every, like,
Maybe good for the brain.
fact.
Be an
I didn't
interesting study.
realize, but I actually brought some pickles. Would you like a pickle?
No, thank you.
Are you sure? You don't want a pickle?
No, thank you.
So they just kind of take the pickle and they go and they eat it right in the microphone. You see what I mean?
That's ASMR.
And I could just listen to this for hours. There's something really calming and soothing about the moist pickle against my teeth. Okay, next question. Listening to true crime podcasts to relax before bed.
Bad for your brain.
Fuck! Why?
Because right before bed, you're putting into your conscious, which goes into your subconscious, terror.
Okay.
And that's a very bad thing.
Then why does it relax me?
Because of the ADD. You need excitement in order to turn your brain on, which will then help you sleep.
So what do I do about that?
Well, I think I'd try to find something that's not going to put darkness and terror in your head. One of my favorite exercises when you go to bed is go, what went well today?
I love
And
that. I do that all the time.
Start at the beginning
me
of
that.
your day.
Yes.
And this go hour by hour. And what are the things you just love about the day? You're so busy.
Wow.
Right? Most people, they're just so busy
Yeah.
that all these sort of cool things happen and they never anchor them in their mind.
Wow. See, I love that because you taught me that years ago. And I always thought, I just would think of random things that went well through my day, which a lot of things. I have an amazing life, you know. But I never thought about starting in the morning and going through.
And if you wake up in the middle of the night, go back and do it again.
What if nothing went right in your day like Clayton's life?
Yeah, what would I do? Because I don't have anything good.
I look for the micro moments
Yeah.
of happiness, like even the littlest thing, like meeting me today.
There you go.
That was exciting.
There you go.
And helped me find the right parking spot. It's like,
You're right.
I was
I
able
do
to
have
do that.
something to live for.
That's amazing. You helped someone find a parking spot.
I'm going to be okay.
What a great life you have.
People are always sort of looking for the next big
big
thing to
thing.
focus on. It's like I make brain healthy hot chocolate every night. Just the first sip, it always makes the highlight reel. If I'm not asleep by the time 7 o'clock
But
comes
what's
around.
in that hot chocolate?
So raw, organic cacao,
Okay.
unsweetened organic vanilla almond milk, and chocolate stevia. There's a company I like called Sweet Leaf that makes 10 different flavors of stevia, and I love their chocolate. Put it in a blender. It's amazing. It's like 60 calories. So it's calorie smart. It tastes delicious. Loves me, and I love it. Because that's like the trick in life. Is to only love things or people that love you back.
I love that.
And so everything I eat, I love, and it loves me too.
Wow.
And there are things I love, like Rocky Road ice cream, that don't love
Don't
me
love
back.
you back.
And
Right.
I come
It's
from
like all your relationships.
They've always been one-sided.
you want anything you do I love it, and does
Does
love
it
me?
love me back? I love that. What about coffee? Tell me I could have coffee. I only have like 7 to 10 cups a day.
Yeah, it's too much. Caffeine constricts blood flow to the brain.
Mm.
And although I have to get you some, I have a new supplement I love called Peak Energy.
Oh, I
It's
want it.
made with ATP
Okay.
and something called paraxanthine, which
Mm.
is actually a caffeine metabolite that does not make you anxious, does not keep you up, and is not a diuretic.
Okay.
And
I'm in. Send it. Send it my way.
people love it.
Great. I can sponsor it on the podcast. How about that?
That'd be great.
Should we do a deal?
We should do a deal.
I love it. You hear that, Patrick? We got a sponsor. Okay. Perineum sunning, aka butthole sunning.
Getting sunburned is not good for your brain.
But is it
But
good for your butthole?
being in the sun for 10, 20 minutes a day is good for your brain because we live in a society with really low vitamin D levels. And when you're in the sun, you
But
get a good dose.
specifically butthole.
Yeah. If you like have clothes on everywhere else, but not,
That's correct.
then
It's literally it's a thing.
probably nothing for your brain.
Not good for your brain.
Probably doesn't impact your brain.
Have you heard of it before?
I have not. That's new.
Yeah, it's called perineum sunning. And so you just aim your anus at the sun for about 20 minutes a day. And you sun your anus. And it's supposed to be really good for your brain, is what they say. Can you look that up on Google, please?
It just says it's a moot pun for your brain.
Got it. Going to church while microdosing.
So I'm not a huge fan of microdosing.
Really?
Yeah. It's illegal for one. And two, there's so little study on it. And we are now in this epidemic of young people doing mushrooms like psilocybin. And brand new study out increases the risk of schizophrenia. And the number of people who've gone to emergency rooms with psychosis secondary to psilocybin has gone up 300% in the last year.
Even if you just take a teeny, beeny,
Yeah, but
teensy little-
microdosing is different for everybody. The studies on psilocybin for depression are 25 milligrams. Microdosing for many people is 50 to 500 milligrams. It's the Wild West. And I'm just not a huge fan.
Okay. A little boring, but all right.
Yeah, who has more fun? The person with the good brain or the person with the bad brain?
I like that.
So
like
we
that
have
a
a
lot.
course called Brain Thrive by 25. We teach high school students
Oh.
to love and care for their brains.
Wow.
And when we do week 4, which is things to avoid, invariably it's a boy, I don't know why, it's never a girl, raises his hand and go, how can you have any fun? And we play a game with them called Who Has More Fun? The kids with the good brain or the kids with the bad brain? Who gets the girl and gets to keep her because he doesn't act like an ass? The person with the good brain or the person with the bad brain?
Why do most men, specifically straight men, have brain damage?
Well, it's because they thought hitting soccer balls with their head was innocuous or playing football was a sign of masculinity.
That's actually, I've never thought about that. They're way more like testosterone driven, physical, so they're more likely to damage their brain when they're kids, which is why they're raging fucking assholes as adults.
Well, lots of reasons. There's an epidemic of low testosterone in young males.
I knew that.
And so why is that? Because their parents, thinking they're doing the right thing, are putting all these products on their body, from baby lotion, sunscreen, that have parabens and phthalates in them, which are hormone disruptors. And so there's an app I like called Think Dirty. It's not what you think it is, but it lets you scan all of your personal products and tells you on a scale of 0 to 10 how quickly they're killing you.
Wow. Taking prescribed Adderall through my nose.
So it's good for your brain if you have ADD and you have a sleepy brain. It's bad for your brain if you have a busy brain. And so it's
What about
being
me?
passed out like candy for our population without any biological data on the brain. So I'm worried about it.
What's a more natural solution to Adderall?
So there's something called L-tyrosine, which is the amino acid building block for dopamine. That's what Adderall works on. Omega-3 fatty acids, but
Okay.
not any. EPA. Think of omega-3s. There's two main subtypes, EPA and DHA. EPA has been found to be helpful for ADD and depression. DHA is more for anxiety.
Okay. Okay.
There's neurofeedback that you can do where people put electrodes on their scalp, measure what's going on, and actually learn to strengthen the vulnerable parts of their brain.
What about the oxygen tanks? You talk about those.
Hyperbaric oxygen, I love.
Do
If
they
you have-
actually make a difference?
They do if you had brain damage or
Oh.
you have low activity in your brain. The hyperbaric oxygen gives you a healthier brain.
Okay, good or bad for my brain? Getting 8 hours of sleep in a tanning bed.
So the 8 hours of sleep is good. The tanning bed, not good.
For your brain?
Not good for your skin, which means you're more likely to get cancer, which the stress is really bad for your brain.
Okay. And if you could give people one piece of advice, like one easy way to get started to get a healthier brain, what would that be?
Just ask yourself this one question. Is this good for my brain or bad for it? If you just start asking yourself the question, because most 7-year-olds know the answer.
Wow.
Is this good for my brain or bad for it?
Wow.
I
And
went
if you
into-
don't know, look it up. ChatGPT, Google, right?
Follow me on Instagram.
If you don't know, follow Dr. Amen. Where can they follow you?
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
He's
Doc Amen,
huge.
DOC.
He's literally the
OMEN.
biggest. Where?
DOC AMEN.
That's it. You've scanned everyone's brain. He scanned the Kardashians' brain. How are they? What's up with their brain?
Interesting.
Really? What's going on there?
So
What's
I was
going
on their show, so it's public. Kendall had post-COVID anxiety.
Could have told you.
You
that.
could see her emotional brain was just on fire. And Chloe had a head injury.
Really? That makes sense, judging by the men she picks. What about Kim? Nothing? Sexy brain?
No, didn't scan her.
Oh, didn't scan her. As far as like, if you want to reverse aging of the brain, can you do Botox or filler in your brain?
You can reverse aging in your brain, not with Botox or filler, but things like hyperbaric oxygen, eating better, sleeping better, loving your brain. And it can change quickly. The NFL study I did, their brains were often better in 2 months.
Really? That's really good news for Clayton especially. So I think we're pretty much wrapped up here. You were freaking amazing. I do want to just pull up some questions from the fans.
Great.
5 minutes. We'll throw them at you. Okay. Val Bonqui, is the feeling of losing my mind during the night a sign of anxiety or deeper issues?
Is the feeling of losing my mind a sign of anxiety or deeper issues? It could be either of those, or it could be just an undisciplined mind where, and there's nowhere in school where they teach us to manage our minds. Think about how insane that is, right? It's like happens every day, all day.
Yeah.
And too often, people are infested with these ants, and no one ever taught them to kill them. And so I'm losing my mind. Is that true?
Wow.
Is it absolutely true? Probably not, because I find it in the morning. Um, and so just flip it. Take the
Wow.
original thought that bothers you, I'm losing my mind, and flip it, I'm not losing my mind.
Mm.
And that's where you meditate.
Wow. So you're training, you're creating a discipline for your brain or for your mind.
Right. And when your mind has a tantrum, just like the child in the store who wants Lucky Charms, it's like, no, we don't give in to tantrums.
Do you think sometimes pain could be addictive? Like you could be addicted to the drama and addicted to the negative thoughts?
Yes. And it's actually much more common in people who have ADD. They use it as a stimulant. And they poke on other people and they poke on themselves.
Wow. I don't relate.
And if you don't look, how would you know?
Green smoothie enemas, good or bad for brain health?
It depends what's in the green smoothie. Because a lot of times they put a lot of sugar in the green smoothie, like apple juice.
Okay.
Because what is apple juice? It's
Sugar.
sugar.
Best advice to parents. Best advice.
So I have this video going around. It has 36 million views and it's less than a minute. And what I said
Incredible.
on it is when you do too much for a child, you boost your self-esteem by stealing theirs. Because self-esteem comes from competence. And so if my daughter didn't bring her homework to school, no one's bringing it for her. She'll only not do that once or twice, and then she'll remember to be responsible. If she went to
If your
school
daughter-
without a sweater, and even though her mother told her to bring one, no one's bringing it to school.
If she
for
forgot
her.
her lunch, bitch, you're going to starve. We're not bringing you your lunch.
And that'll only happen once or twice. When you overdo for children, you create entitlement, and no entitled people are happy. So it's important to have empathy. Like you said, what would you do if the child is having the tantrum? Well, like the answer is no. It's always going to be no. Go for it. But then it's like you root for them to do the right thing.
Right.
But you sort of pray that they don't.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
want them to learn from the consequences of their behavior. If you rescue them, they're not learning.
She falls in a
Plus-
pool.
No, then you rescue them.
Sorry.
Right? I mean,
Sorry.
no, I mean, you actually be rational and
Yeah, of course.
make sure that they're not near a pool that they could fall in.
Right.
I mean, God gave you parents to
Yes.
supervise them until their frontal lobes, this part of your brain that supervises you, develops.
Okay. How do you spell brain?
How do you spell
Somebody asked.
BRAIN?
Are you MAGA? We wonder. This is from Derek Clark. You don't have to answer that.
I'm actually very excited about RFK. I'm very excited because if the current administration or if the last administration would have stayed, nothing would have happened with our health. But the fact that we're going to talk about food additives and we're going to talk about vaccines, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I think of myself as a smart vaxxer.
Talk
It's
about
like,
that.
let's be smart about it. Giving babies a hepatitis B vaccine when you get hepatitis B from IV needles or irresponsible, unprotected sex. I'm like, I'm not going to subject my child to that vaccine. I think parents should have more choice and they should have more education. And we're going to talk about that. Every functional medicine doctor I know is actually very excited to have the conversation.
What about the anti-vaxxer saying that vaccines cause autism?
They don't. but they don't help autism. And I think for vulnerable people, for vulnerable children, vaccines can be harmful. And I have vaccine damage scans. So don't tell me they're innocuous, because they're not always innocuous. Um, I just want to be able to have the discussion without
Right.
somebody calling me bad names.
Sure.
And during the last administration, during COVID, if I didn't have the administration's position, if I didn't believe what they believed, then they would try to take my license from me. It's the first time in my adult life my free speech was suppressed. I'm not okay with that. That if I want to give my patients ivermectin, because none of my COVID patients died when I gave it to them, I want to have the right to do that without people saying I'm anti-science.
Wait, why didn't they like you giving them that?
Because they wanted to get the vaccine approved, and you cannot have an effective treatment for COVID and get the emergency approval for those vaccines that were just developed. And
Whoa.
so it's like, oh no, ivermectin is a horse parasite medicine, even though it was one of the most widely prescribed medications in the world and one of the safest medications in the world.
Wow.
And they like threatened to take my license away or
Who threatened
block
to take?
me.
Who threatened?
Medical boards across the United States were hurting doctors. And if I would have talked about it publicly on my platforms, they would have blocked me.
Mm.
And now they came, and it's so interesting. Mark Zuckerberg was at Mar-a-Lago and Jeff Bezos was at Mar-a-Lago. And they're like, we're sorry for the censorship that we did, but we had the White House screaming at us. That is not America. It's not free speech. Your doctor should be able to say what he or she believes.
Right.
And then, my patients decide if they want to be my patients
Yeah.
or not, right? That's America.
Sure.
It's not America when you have an administration that goes, oh, tell the doctors they can't say that.
Whoa. So just tell me about the vaccines in children. Do you believe in spacing it out and taking?
So you want mercury-free vaccines? Mercury's
Can they
known,
make mercury-free
of course,
vaccines?
and they do.
Okay.
And mercury is a known neurotoxin. So let's not give kids so many at once. Let's space them, and let's give them ones that they need that are protecting them and protecting society.
Wow. Powerful stuff. How do I teach myself to be happy?
I love that question.
Yeah.
Happiness is a moral obligation. Why?
Wow.
Because of how you impact other people. I guarantee you, if you ask someone who was raised by an unhappy mother or married to an unhappy spouse or raising an unhappy child, if happiness was an ethical issue, and they would all say yes. And when I was growing up, not too far from here, and I went to a Catholic school down the street, that idea, happiness is a moral obligation, was nowhere in my childhood. But it's because of how we impact other people. Now, hedonism is the enemy of happiness.
What is that
because
again?
hedonism, where all your life is about pleasure, because it wears out your pleasure centers. But I think starting every day with today is going to be a great day. Training your mind to look for what's right rather than just what's wrong. Ending the day with what went well today, not ever wanting to be the best, but wanting to be your best.
Wow.
That's a prescription for happiness. and being in the present rather than in the past with regret or the future with fear, learning to be in the moment.
Do you believe in manifestation?
I believe that you should tell your brain what you want, and then your brain will help you figure it out. But almost all of my patients, they never write down what they actually want. Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. There's an exercise I do called the one-page miracle. One piece of paper, write down what you want. And then every day you just ask yourself, does my behavior get me what I want? Like, I want to be healthy, and I want to be happy, and I want to have a kind, caring, loving, supportive, passionate relationship with my wife. But rude thoughts show up, and I don't say them because it doesn't fit, right?
If
I don't have
fit
any tattoos, but if I did, the first one would be, does it fit? Does my behavior fit
get it on your
the
face.
goals I
Dr.
have
Raymond.
for my life?
Could you imagine Dr. Raymond with a face tat?
Does it
Just
fit?
does it fit right on your cheek? I love that. Do it. Do it. Dr. Raymond, you've been amazing and so inspirational. Thank you so much. I love you. You're incredible. Dr. Amy. Yes! Oh my God, hug. Hi, y'all. I'm Pamela Pupkin, and you're about to do Pamela Pupkin's Brain Gains Workout. This is Alan. We're going to wake up early and do a little twirly. We're going to wake up early and do a little twirly. Make some goals, lose some rolls. Make some goals, lose some rolls. Make some goals, lose some rolls. Make some goals and lose some rolls.
See that toxic person? We're walking the other way. See that toxic person? And we're walking the other way. Toxic person, walk the other way. Toxic person, walk the other way. Toxic person, walk the other way. Walk the other way.
Punch depression and kick anxiety in the beanbag. Punch depression and kick anxiety in the beanbag. Punch depression and kick anxiety in the beanbag. Punch depression and kick anxiety in the beanbag.